Hi, I'm Chas, and you're watching Chas's Crazy Creations. Let's get started.
How long does it take to paint a room? We just painted my son's room, and I'll share the journey, tips, and answer some questions along the way. This is my son's room, and as you can see, it still has a nursery accent wall I painted on it. We started by talking to him about what he was envisioning. He was requesting an accent wall, and my husband was hoping for all white. Even if we went with all white, I knew we'd have to paint all of the walls because matching the paint would be really difficult. How do I choose the right paint? Next, we headed over to our hardware store and grabbed some paint samples. We brought home the samples so we could see what they would look like in the light of my son's room. You can also buy small samples of paint and paint it onto the walls to see what it looks like. How do I start painting a room? We moved my son's bed and desk into the middle of the room and covered it with a drop cloth. We moved out everything else. Next, we covered the floor with drop cloths as well. I used painter's tape to tape the baseboards, molding, and anything else we didn't want to get paint on. What order do you paint a room? My husband painted the Behr Ultra Scuff Defense Vibrant White paint in a diagonal line on the wall that would become our accent wall. We would need this to dry before we could do more to that wall, so we did that first. My husband started painting the ceiling. This amazing Behr Ultra Scuff Defense has a built-in primer, and it went on nicely. It's meant to hold up against wall scuffs, which is great for kids, and we picked a satin finish. While my husband painted the ceiling, my son and I started painting the edges. This would be the areas the roller couldn't quite reach, like above the baseboards, around the closet doors, corners, creases, anything like that. After the ceiling was done, we started painting 3 of the 4 walls with the vibrant white paint. How long should you wait between coats? We followed the Behr recommendation of 2 hours before we put the second coat on. After the second coat of paint was done, the light was fading in the room, so we had spent about 4 to 6 hours on the room and stopped for the day. I love how bright this vibrant white paint made this room. Look at that original color. Those walls, they were supposed to be white, but I always said they looked white with a brown tinge. Now you can totally see it, and so did the rest of my family finally. This is why I said we'd have to paint everything the new vibrant white color. It would have been so hard to match. On the second day, we were ready to tackle the accent wall. We used frog tape to tape the edges and the diagonal line. My son had picked out Firecracker Red for the top part of his accent wall. Red happens to be his favorite color. My husband rolled it on. My son picked out Blackout Black for his other accent color. While my husband painted the Blackout Black, I painted the edges with the Firecracker Red. After my husband was done painting the other side, I edged it out. While the accent wall was drying, we touched up the spots we missed with the vibrant white. We waited 2 hours and then did a second coat of the Firecracker Red and the Blackout Black. How do you remove tape without peeling paint? We waited until both coats of paint were done and the paint was dry to the touch. Pulling at a 45 to 90 degree angle helps. There were a few spots where the paint bled under the tape. We touched it up with the vibrant white. I was a little nervous that it would take a few coats, but the primer was so good that it only took 1 round of touching up. The accent wall and the touch-ups took most of the second day, and again the light was moving out of the room, so we stopped for the day. How long should paint dry before hanging? We moved my son's furniture in on day 3. Following the paint instructions, we will wait 4 weeks before we put a couple of pictures he wants to hang on the walls. He was also hoping for a strip of LED lights around the top perimeter of the room. My son is so happy with how the room turned out. Thank you, Behr Paint, for supplying the paint to do this project. We were able to do something as a family, and we could teach him a life skill in the process. So, how long does it take to paint a room? If you're only painting it one color, you can probably do it in a day. If you're painting molding, doors, or maybe an accent wall, you're going to need 2 to 3 days. Other factors that might take longer would include how many people are helping you paint the room, how big is the room, how tall are the ceilings, and how dark is the color, because it might take more coats to cover.
I hope this inspires you. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.